when all we're hearing, and we don't do anything vertical like an elevator, but even the moving walkways are.
Well, that's better than what we had. Let's just show
Let's do
them.
it. Good evening, sir. Good evening to the board, ladies. Welcome you to the July 1st meeting of the Taylor Planning Commission. But before we get started, it's customary to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Stewart, will you lead us, please?
Gladly, Mr. Chairman. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Thank you. You might be seated. The purpose of the meeting is to evaluate the plans and requests that are presented and to either agree or disagree with said plans. And with that, Mr. Simeon, will you take a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sped?
Here.
Mr. Stewart?
Here.
Mr. Simeon is here. Mr. Croft?
Here.
Mr. Fisher is not here. Mr. Stiles?
Here.
Mr. Galosi?
Here.
Mr. Pokron?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Simeon. Also with us is Ms. Laura Fell. She's the Zoning and Planning Administrator, and her assistant, Ms. Riddle. And we welcome you here. And with that, I'll entertain a motion on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Stewart, supported by Ms. Croft, that the agenda be approved as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. I'll entertain a motion on the minutes of June 17th.
Mr. Chairman, having read the minutes, there's a lot of information that's missing off these minutes. There are some errors there and omissions. Our last meeting was all legislative acts, and there was a rezoning and a PUD. And the way this is written up, it's written up as legislative. There's a case that's in error. A vote that has got the wrong case number, SLU. And then also there's no minutes portion on the discussion of the PUD. And I'd like to make a recommendation to just table the minutes until they can be completed, since the two cases are actually going to the city council.
I'd like to get the opinion of Ms. Fell with the city
That's fine.
before we do anything. Are you, what are your wishes from the city?
I'm not understanding what,
Do we table them?
Mr. Simeon, Commissioner Simeon, what was besides the legislative action? What else did you find in the minutes? The discussion is included under the rezoning. The discussion for both the PUD
I saw the rezoning discussion.
and the rezoning.
But there was no
It's
discussion
included. It was
included
both
under the PUD.
Both cases were looked at together, the rezoning and the
Yes.
Right, they
PUD.
were.
And this discussion was combined into the one that's underneath the rezoning.
Yeah, we discussed both items at the same time.
Well, actually, there's quite a few open items and discussion of the variances, the room sizes, the square footages, and that type of thing that was brought up that doesn't even show up in the minutes. There are key issues.
The variances are, let's see. Number 7 is the variances for the room sizes, minimum floor area.
That was just a listing that was right out of, there was discussion about the variances. There was discussion about the room sizes not being according to the ordinance. There was discussion about some rooms that had to be explained by the petitioner, and none of that's reflected in the minutes here.
Well, you can make a motion to amend to include in the discussion that the variances were discussed in the room sizes, and that the administrative action is changed to legislative, and that would correct the minutes.
There's a whole section of the minutes that we discussed under the PUD that aren't even in here.
Mr. Stewart, did you have something you wanted to add?
Just on the variance, at the item 7, I don't have my notes with me, but we had talked that listing of 7, each of the 3 different sizes.
Yeah, I sent both you and Mr. Simeon an email explaining the 4 types of rooms they had and
4 types.
sizes, and these were the 2 variances that were required. We double-checked it, Susie double-checked it, and it was correct.
Okay.
Well, if I may comment, I was satisfied with the way that all went about.
And in the discussion, it does mention the room size variances, studio definition, memory care definition, the memory care units designed for easier access as special facility, and it goes on with the other points that were discussed.
Well, there's a motion made by Mr. Simeon. Is there support for that motion? The motion fails. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll approve the minutes.
Mr. Gallosi.
I'll second that.
Mr. Plucker. We have a motion by Mr. Gallosi, supported by Mr. Plucker, that the minutes of June 17 be approved as received and that their oral reading be dispensed with. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to abstain. Was not here last time, so.
All right. Opposed?
No,
Mr. Simeon, would you take roll call, please?
yes. Let me just make a little chart here. Chairman Sped,
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart,
Yes.
Commissioner Simeon votes no. Commissioner Croft,
Abstain.
abstained. Commissioner Fisher is not here, no vote. Commissioner Stiles,
Yes.
Commissioner Gallosi,
Yes.
Commissioner Palkron,
Yes.
motion carries, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Simeon. The motion carried by a vote of 5 to 1 with 1 abstention to approve the minutes of June 17. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion, well, of course, we did that with a count, yeah. So it's approved. And with that, we'll move on to the administrative action. Case number 20-13, special land use 7644 Holland Storage. Parcel 60-017-99-0031-008 and 60-017-99-0031-0009 of the Northeast Quarter, Section 7, City of Taylor, T.3S, R.10E, Wayne County, Michigan. The property is located on the west side of Holland Road between Wick and Ecorse Road. Site contains approximately 6.18 acres. Proposed use, automotive storage. And also case 20-14, site plan, 7644 Holland storage.